Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Closing Out the Week with the Closers Podcast. We're coming at you recording on a Saturday, but this will be heard on a Friday at some point. Please follow us at Instagram or on Instagram at The Closers Podcast and like the Facebook page at Closers Podcast. We also have a YouTube channel now with all of the episodes on that channel. If you prefer to have a visual while you also listen to this audio, it is just the Closers Podcast, and you should be able to find it pretty easily if you just type in those words into the search bar. So without any further ado, let me introduce this week's guest for closing out the week, my older brother, Ruben Zacharias Alvarado, as I call him, Zach. Welcome onto the podcast, Zach.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling today? How are you doing? How is your life right now? If you could summarize it in like 3 words.
Pretty freaking good.
Pretty freaking good. That's pretty freaking good to hear. So just to give people some background, go ahead and just summarize yourself. Make your sales pitch on who you are.
So like I said, my name is Ruben Zacharias Alvarado. Grew up San Jose, California.
East side?
Yep, east side. I went to high school at Overfelt. Once I got out of high school, I joined the Army. 4 years active duty. Within those 4 years, 2 years overseas. Got out active, stayed in the Guard, still in the Guard, National Guard that is. And currently a journeyman electrician with Union Local 332, building up new buildings in
Silicon Valley.
Yep, Silicon Valley.
That's sick. So do you listen to a lot of podcasts yourself?
I listen to some.
Mm-hmm.
More I kind of follow along with our father, Ruben Guerrero Alvarado.
Our Father.
Yes.
Who art in heaven.
Yeah. And I listen to, if it's not either Hardcore History or History on Fire, then it's the Jocko podcast.
Oh, Jocko Willing.
Yes.
Yeah, those are good podcasts. Do you listen to the Bill Burr podcast?
Not yet. I want to.
You should.
I want to check it out.
Those are really funny. He just like rambles for like a good hour on just like random stuff. But yeah, that's awesome. So you're not a stranger to how the whole podcast thing works. Did you ever see yourself as being a guest on a podcast?
Actually, no, never.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome. Congratulations. You're in the fraternity of podcast guests now. Specifically the closer. You're now a closer,
awesome.
Which is cool. So I just want to talk about something with you.
Yes.
You have a tattoo on your forearm.
Mm-hmm.
That one right there. It says Goth. Right? Is that what it says?
Yes.
So when you were growing up, what did it mean to be goth? Because I feel like that definition has changed a little bit. I feel like the music that people listen to, I don't know. I just feel like what you listened to back in the day and goth music that is considered goth now, it's just different. So what was the scene like back then in like the 90s when you were growing up?
So when I was growing up, goth was or at least for me, I was a scene unto myself, because East Side San Jose, when I was growing up, that everyone was at least everyone that I knew was a wannabe gangster. And everyone, it was the height of or actually say downfall of Ruthless Records and NWA.
Yeah.
Them splitting up, the rise of Death Row Records, and the West Coast gangster rap.
Yeah.
And everyone was getting caught up in that. And, for me personally, at that time I was growing up, I started getting into rock. Like early on, I in middle school I found Green Day. Ended up liking them.
Nice.
I know they're not the most rock band that we know.
Yeah.
They kind of went along the lines of pop punk.
Yeah.
But from them I moved on to Metallica. Ended up becoming a metalhead. But one of my favorite movies of all times was always The Crow.
Oh, okay.
And for me, I knew The Crow was goth, and I had some idea of what goth was, but and what being goth was.
Yeah.
But I didn't, outside of being like a metalhead or a punk rock kid, I was the only person that just tried to find my own way. I was the only quote unquote goth kid at my school.
Oh, okay.
So for me, it was more of just a sense of fashion of what I liked, and just enjoying who I was at that point in time, not wanting to conform to what everyone else was doing of the wannabe gangster with the FUBU shirts and the baggy pants.
FUBU.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my god, I totally forgot about those.
Yeah, for me it was like the cut off cargo pants with combat boots,
spike collars.
Yes, I did do the do the painted nails. I never really did the liquid white paper face.
Oh, you didn't do that?
No. I did do a little bit of the face paint, but just the black. But other than that, it was that spiky hair, heavy metal t-shirts, spikes, and that was pretty much it. Whatever I could get away with, because my mom at that time really did not approve of it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can you tell everybody the story of your Metallica shirt?
Yes. So, I think sophomore year, I had finally started working, and so I was able to make some of my own money. And one of the things I really wanted was a Metallica t-shirt.
Right.
And there's one in particular. I think among Metallica fans, it's I would say probably a little more famous shirt.
Okay.
Of what most people think of. Mm-hmm. And it was the one with the hand coming out of the toilet with a knife that say "metal up your ass." And so I wanted that shirt really bad, and I saved up my own money, and I went and bought it.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I was getting into heavy metal, and I was getting into a lot of the rock music and heavy metal music. My mom was going a lot more Christian.
Oh, okay.
And how most kids in the East Side, their parents would go through their drawers and stuff for drug paraphernalia or drugs itself or weapons or things of that nature. My mom went through my drawers to search for heavy metal stuff. So I had to, she ended up taking that shirt, which was one of my favorite shirts, and I never seen it again because of my mom's religious views. Yeah.
And because I bet there's some people that are listening that are a little confused, we don't have the same mom. Me and Zach have the same dad. So when he says mom, it's not my mom who you've heard on the podcast before. It's somebody different. But so was that like a constant kind of like fight within that household? Or is it something that just like every once in a while things would pop off, but generally you were able to get away with stuff?
No, I kind of had to go, for lack of a better term, underground with all my clothing.
Oh.
Like our father, he wouldn't mind it as long as I didn't go too crazy with it. I mean, I couldn't be walking around the house with a pentagram shirt, but he may not have liked, but he respected my choice in music and my choice of dress.
Yeah.
And my mom, however, did not, and so I may not have been. I was never a druggie.
Yeah.
And I never got into drugs, but I kind of had that feeling of knowing what it was like to have to hide everything.
Oh,
and sneak everything around the back, because
it felt like you kind of were because of everything.
Yeah, because
the lengths you had to go through just to listen to Metallica. It's like,
oh yeah, because I had to leave all my heavy metal CDs, all my heavy metal music, and paraphernalia at my dad's house. And if I did decide to take a heavy metal shirt to school, I'd have to take 2 shirts if I was going back home to my mom, and to switch out the shirt or switch out the clothing prior to me getting home.
Yeah.
Because she didn't approve of it.
Yeah. What other bands were like big in the scene? And also, did you like meet anybody else that kind of shared the same interests as you musically during that time? That were like kids from other schools, or?
No. So during high school, I really didn't meet too many other people that were into heavy metal that I was. A lot of the kids that were there that liked some form of rock were a lot of the skaters, and they were but they were all into the punk rock and and also like the rap rock of Beastie Boys and stuff like that. That's what they were all into.
Yeah.
Which really didn't appeal to me that much. But I didn't meet another goth kid until I joined the Army, and then they talked a lot about the goth scene and what it was like in other places.
Yeah.
And it was, I wouldn't say vastly, but it was different from how I perceived it to be, and how I lived at that time. And that's when I realized I really wasn't too much of a goth kid at that time.
Yeah.
I like spikes, wore a lot of black, but I was just a metalhead kid.
Yeah. Because, I know, like, the goth scenes in other areas are, like, super about, like, industrial music, a lot of 80s inspired new wave stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting seeing the perceptions, and, like, you can create your own image in your own mind, and that's just as valid as, like, an actual scene of people that kind of listen to the same stuff. Why did you gravitate towards, like, rock music generally, as opposed to, because you kind of hit on that a little bit more, like, earlier, where you wanted to be different, but why did you want to be different in that way? Because you could have been different in so many other ways.
I think it wasn't so much that I specifically wanted to be different.
Mm-hmm.
I've always just wanted to be me.
Yeah.
And growing up, I mean, granted, like, even now I'm only 5'6". Growing up, I was always the smaller kid, the skinnier kid.
Yeah.
And I mean, I didn't get picked on really that whole lot. Even through high school, I never really got picked on or be with. I was always good friends with pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
But I always knew I was always the smaller kid, and I think I gravitated to heavy metal, at least because of the aggression level and the I guess the testosterone filled lyrics and riffs and stuff like that. And so for me, I've always had this need or longing to feel like a badass.
Uh-huh.
And so I think in my music, I always gravitated to that. And so when I heard especially like thrash metal, where it's just loud, hard, and fast, and just over aggression, for me that was awesome. It was what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And in terms of my clothing, it's just what the style I decided, or what I chose to wear back then. Because once I got into the Army, obviously I got a lot more freedom on my off time.
Yeah.
And so I was able to wear a lot more what I wanted to wear. It's what I like. I kind of like that goth, that dark look. I think the only thing I couldn't do was grow out my hair and dye it. Dye it black. But I ended up like buying a lot more. I had a few, not necessarily trench coats, but long coats.
Okay.
I would wear. I pretty much only shopped at Hot Topic, because in Kentucky and Tennessee, it's about as close to goth as you're going to get for shopping.
What other stores were there, like in San Jose or like in the Bay Area, that kind of you can get more like goth, darker stuff at the time?
It was pretty much the same.
Really?
You can if you wanted heavy metal shirts, it was either Hot Topic once that started coming around, or it was the music shop, Sam Goody.
Oh, okay.
The other places like that would sell the paraphernalia along with the merch, I should say, 'cause what they say now.
Yeah.
As long as with the musical CDs. And so that was really the only places that I could get them. And then it was just from when I did go buy my own clothing as a kid, I was able to, that I would just have to shop for what I thought looked good at the regular shop stores everyone else shopped at.
Yeah. And what did you ever go to any shows and stuff? Did you see any of the bands that you grew up listening to, or not really during that time? Was it later on when you were able to go out and see those bands?
Yeah, it wasn't. So my first concert, it was my junior year of high school. Was the first concert I ever got to go to for bands that I wanted to see. Obviously, my mom was completely against it, but my dad had made me a deal that if I can't remember what they were, but if I meet X, Y, and Z in school, he would get me the tickets and he would go drop me off. And it was, my first concert was the Pledge of Allegiance tour, in San Jose, at the San Jose Arena, and it was co-headlined with Slipknot and System of a Down.
Oh, dang.
Yes. Yeah, co-headlined Slipknot, System of a Down. Mudvayne was also there, which was another one of my big bands back then. Unfortunately, they broke up now.
Mudvayne.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Rammstein was there.
Really?
Yes, but at the time I didn't know. I wasn't really into Rammstein yet. And so for me, they were just a known name band.
Yeah.
And when they went to do their set, we actually got off the floor, and I took that opportunity to go use the bathroom. I kind of kicked myself in the ass now, because that would have been cool to go see them.
Yeah.
Now that I know who they are and I'm into them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then there was another,
especially at that time.
Oh yeah, and there was another band. I don't know if it was a local band or just some band trying to get up, but the band was called it was actually called No One. which they weren't bad.
Really?
But yeah, they just ended up not going anywhere.
Ah, that sucks.
Yeah, and then after that, and it wasn't until the Army that I finally started going some more shows. Not a whole lot because the training and deployment cycle tempo was pretty high, even for just regular infantry.
Yeah.
But I did, one band I got to go see was Killswitch Engaged.
Oh, that's awesome.
Venue. Yeah, actually,
who was the singer at the time?
Oh, I can't remember the original dude.
The OG guy. Okay,
yeah.
Okay, the guy that's in there now.
Yeah. So yeah, the original guy that was there. I actually got to stage dive off.
While what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's super sick.
Yeah. And then we saw a couple of smaller bands. Me and my roommate at the time, and then but I always wanted to go see Metallica, and wasn't until when did they complete the stadium, the Niner Stadium?
Oh, that was 2013.
Yeah,
I think.
So
yeah, 2013.
They were, people in the Bay Area were trying to push for Metallica to play the halftime show.
Oh yeah, at the Super Bowl, right?
Yes. And that's probably the only petition I ever signed, was to petition for Metallica to play the halftime show.
Yeah,
being a Bay Area band.
Oh yeah.
And but they ended up not happening. I think they chose
Coldplay and Beyonce that year.
And so
I remember that one.
So Metallica ended up saying, like, screw it, we're gonna do a concert, and they ended up calling it the night before.
Yeah, at AT&T Ballpark. That's when I lived there in San Francisco.
Yep.
I wanted to go so badly, but I was broke as fuck. So
that's an interesting story in itself. So
yeah, I want to listen to that. I want to hear that.
I found out about the show, and I told my wife, Marty, that I was going to. I was like, hey, I got to go to this concert. I've never been. I don't know how many years, high school and early in the Army, the Metallica would do their summer sanitarium tours. And in the stars never aligned for me to be able to go. Something was always happening, or it would end up being they would do a show too far away. But this one, it was perfect. And so, like, I double checked, because with the Guard we still have to drill the 1 week in a month.
Yeah.
So I had double checked like 3 months in advance, or when I first heard about it, I called my unit and I checked, hey, we don't have drill that weekend, correct? Make sure it was clear.
Yeah.
And they, no, yeah, we're good. I bought the tickets, ground floor tickets. Spent a little extra on them because this was my first Metallica concert.
Oh yeah, you gotta go all in.
Yeah, and so like 2 days before, the month prior, I ended up getting an email from my unit. Oh yeah, we're switching.
No,
we're switching drill to the Super Bowl weekend because the Super Bowl was happening in the Bay Area, and we're the closest infantry unit. So if anything happens, we would be like a quick reaction force to deal with it.
Yeah.
So they switched to that drill, which luckily my commander was really cool, and my leadership was really cool. They released me that night to go to the concert. I had to be back the next day, but they let me go to the concert since I already had the tickets prior and I checked them prior. Cool. But like a week before, I lost the tickets.
How'd you lose them?
I had them because at the time I was living with my in-laws, and I had them in a book, and I had the book on the desk on the second floor, and I guess they were going through cleaning. They moved stuff around, and in the process of doing so, the tickets got lost. Yeah, and so I was pissed, but luckily that we got. My wife, the beautiful woman she is, the supportive woman she is, she's like, you know what? Let's just go and just see if you can get some at the door, because I was hearing rumors that it might be sold out. But luckily, it got down there. I had to pay. I think I paid for one ticket. What I had paid for, or what would have been paid for two tickets. Mm-hmm. But luckily, they had some left, and so I got it. I couldn't go to the ground floor. Ground floor was all sold out. But at least I got to see Metallica.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, I remember Cage the Elephant opened for them, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That's a really interesting bill. Cage the Elephant and then Metallica. But I mean, their on-stage presence is actually pretty comparable. Like the lead singer of Cage the Elephant's pretty energetic, but I don't know if a lot of Metallica fans are fans of Cage. But did you like them?
They were pretty good. It's not my style of rock, but it is. They weren't bad. I could sit down and listen to the music. Yeah.
So to go back a little bit, you were talking about how our dad let you go to the show, go to that show if like you met certain requirements for school. How old were you at the time?
I think I was 16.
Oh.
It's going into 17.
Okay.
If not
Yeah.
17 already.
Okay. Because I have a similar story where I wanted to go. So I went to my first concert when I was 15, like my first actual like concert on my own for my music with like my friends at the local show or venue out here in Sacramento called Ace of Spades. And after that, I was like hooked. Like I wanted to go to shows all the time, and I was really into like, you know, like emo scene bands at the time. So like Sleeping with Sirens, Pierce the Veil, Mice and Men, stuff like that. And so I wanted to go see Pierce the Veil and Sleeping with Sirens because he just released King for a Day, which is a pretty big song now. I didn't even think a lot of people listen to it, but it's a big like meme on Twitter now. And so they were coming to Sacramento to Ace of Spades, and I really wanted to go. And I was trying to get our dad and my mom to let me go to this fucking show. And I kept asking, and they were like, no, Marco, no, look, like, I don't know how you'd get there, and it's too much, and you're too young, and blah, blah, blah. I was 15 at the time.
Really, Marco? Really?
Yeah, really, Marco? Yeah, exactly.
You're going to keep bugging me about this, Marco?
Yeah, it's like, Marco, look, and then he rubs his eyes.
Oh, yeah. Bye,
Marco. And then he rubs the neck. He rubs the neck. You know, you really don't understand. Yeah.
And many of nights I've sat
exactly. So I had to go through that for a long time, and I kept bugging him about it, and it was like the day before the show, and I guilt tripped my mom and our dad to be like, okay, fine, you have the money for the tickets, so buy them. I'll go with you. One of us will go with you. Fine. I look online, and they're sold out.
Oh.
They're sold out, and
Soul
then
crushing.
And then at that time, you know, I was so young, I didn't know anything about like StubHub or any resale sites. Like I had no clue, so I was just like, "Fuck!" Like it's over. Like I can't see them. And some of like my friends from school went to the show, and they said it was like super super cool, but I couldn't go. And I like at the time, Kellen Quinn was my idol, and like Vic Fuentes and all those guys, and like, yeah, I wanted to see if our father really has the same principles as he did at the time, which it seems like he did, because he let me go to a show when I was younger than you. So
yeah, I mean, of course, if you heard the podcast with our father, that he's more into the music that requires a lot more talent to be able to play.
I think I mean, sure, I think that's an argument.
Yeah, I agree, because I think that there's even in the heavy metal world that there's some bands that are able to pull off some amazing stuff that would at least get close to comparing to like Santana and Hendrix and all of them. But he's always kind of frowned on the whole heavy metal scene. But he's always, like I said, at least with me, he's always respected it. He's made fun of it and teased me about it. But he's always like, if that's what you like, that's what you like.
Yeah. I mean, he's always, when I used to have long hair, he'd always ask me to cut my hair. And I was just like, look, like, you don't understand. And he still doesn't understand. But, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, too. It's like, I've been in many debates with our dad about music and stuff, because it's not really his fault. Because I'm probably going to be this way, too, when I'm older. And you're probably going to be this way pretty soon, Zach. But
I'm already starting that way.
But, yeah, you are. But, like, you look at what younger people are doing, the music they listen to, and you just instantly think that it's not as good as the stuff you used to listen to or you grew up with because of X, Y, and Z. So I don't blame him for thinking that. It's just you have these certain preconceived notions and opinions that you've established when you were younger, and you just don't think to challenge them ever because you're around people your age that also reinforce those opinions. So like, of course you're going to believe like, oh, like this type of music that wasn't in existence when I was younger isn't as good as the stuff I grew up on and I played all the time. I mean, it's always, I mean, that's just going to happen all the time. But, but I've seen him change a little bit. Like he actually liked grunge music and stuff.
Which that's just really surprising to me. He liked grunge. I figure out of all the possible rock music that I would have never in a million years guessed that he was the one that's what he would actually kind of gravitate to.
Really?
Yeah. But and then the other thing I've looked at it just in my years of growing up as an adult too, I realized it is part a sense of opinion of like you said, that's how he grew up with. But I also think it kind of goes back to the saying that beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and that it's just like people want to say, they use it for anything, is food, art, music. Oh, this music's better than that music. Like, they're pretty sure there's people that will tell you like Britney Spears is the greatest musician that ever lived, and but that's because of what they like. And so for you, to me, it's like what's the best to you. Like, my daughter Leticia, she likes the music she likes. Yeah, and some of it I can't stand it, but I mean that's what she likes. To her, that's what is enjoyable.
Like Baby Shark?
No, no. But
what does she listen to? Like Billie Eilish, right?
Billie Eilish.
Billie Eilish is all right. She's all right.
She's getting into a lot more of the like Ariana Grande.
Oh, okay. So like keeping it pop.
Yeah, she
likes the pop music.
Yeah, she's more into the pop.
Oh, that's good.
Which and then too, I even kind of feel that how our dad feels of that music. It's not good as it used to be, because I guess right now within the metal world, that the rising genres is like black metal and death metal.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of black metal,
but for me, it's harder to get into because I've noticed more over the years. I like music. I like heavy metal music that I could at least somewhat understand, because they scream at the top of their lungs. But too, like, a lot of that music, I don't sense no melody. There's no flow to it. Yeah. Whereas like a good example of a band that does do it, and that I guess they would fall in the realm of Viking metal, is Amon Amarth. Yeah, and they just play, or they're gonna play? They're gonna play. Yeah, I got tickets to the one in SF in October 25th.
25th?
Yes.
I'll have to check it out.
Yes, but I got drawn to them because one, they sing about is Vikings and Viking gods fighting and killing each other, which is awesome. Yeah. But two, they have a nice melody that flows with their music, and I've noticed over the years that's the type of metal that I like.
You like melodic metal?
Yes.
That's respectable. I just know that there's a rise even in like the music I listen to, the more dreamy, like dream pop, like shoegazy type stuff. There's a lot of bands and duos that make music where you can't even really understand what they're saying, and they're not even screaming. It's just the effects they have on their voice make it sound super distant in the background, so you don't even know what's being said. But it's more just the feeling the song gives you as opposed to what the words are being said. But some people value the lyrics over the instrumentation, and then there's other people that value the instrumentation over the lyrics. So it's a constant like pendulum swing, I feel, between like both of those types of like perceptions of what music should be or what people like. Yeah.
And for me and for me, what I feel and what I've always, like I said, what I gravitated to is anything I listen to is like, oh, this is badass. Like I could fight to this music, or I could work out to this music. Like a good example of a good aggression band is a Five Finger Death Punch.
Oh yeah.
They're just over the top aggression, fast, loud, and to me that's what I've always liked.
Yeah, that's cool. Any other bands that you've been listening to recently that are kind of more modern, or current, in the sense of like they're not as well known as Metallica or Five Finger Death Punch?
I've actually been quite enjoying. I don't think they have a genre for it yet, but metal bands that have women as the I guess the front woman now. So for example, like In This Moment.
Oh yeah, that's like metalcore.
Yeah. In This Moment, they're awesome. Butcher Babies, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Arch Enemy, I've been enjoying them. But I've actually over the past few years been getting more into the older 80s metal, so Slayer.
Oh, okay. Would Motley Crue be considered in that vein or not?
To me, Motley Crue bridges the gap between the glam metal and heavy metal, because like they're not like White Snake or anything. Yeah. They're a little more aggressive than that, but they're not
Poison.
Yeah, but they're not complete glam to where they're not a complete metal to where they're like a Metallica or a Megadeth or anything like that.
Iron Maiden was around that time too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Iron Maiden, they're really good instrumentally. I I can't stand the dude's voice.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're a great band. I'll admit it. Like the one song that I do like from them is "Run to the Hills."
Oh yeah, of course.
But I like the dude's voice is just I have a hard time enjoying it.
Oh, that's all funny.
But yeah, I've been getting into like Slayer, Motorhead.
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, I've always listened to
Classic.
AC/DC, yeah. But then another band that kind of bridges that gap between glam and heavy metal, Judas Priest.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then of course, rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio.
Oh yeah, of course.
Godfather of metal.
Yeah, definitely. He's so important to that scene that the local smaller venue, Holy Diver, is named after him. So, but yeah, I asked this to everybody who comes on with closing out the week. But what advice would you give, somebody getting into maybe metal music, or you mentioned your military service. You can really take that any which way. I mean, we stuck with music for quite a bit, so maybe somebody a kid that's struggling with being themselves or whatever. Like, what advice would you give them?
So, and what I've seen in my experience is that people are going to have preconceived norms of what they deem normal, as I think you mentioned earlier. But just no matter what, don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't be afraid to be or act how you feel. As long as you're not hurting anyone else with it physically. Like someone may not approve of it, and they're like, "Oh, you're hurting me emotionally." Like doing that, to me, that's kind of whatever. But just don't be afraid to be yourself, and don't be afraid to follow what your heart tells you to. Like, perfect example, me going to the Army, both of my parents and everyone in my family tried to talk me out of it.
Yeah.
Even to the point my dad, when the movie Black Hawk Down came out, he tried to take me is to scare me out of it, but of course shooting guns, moving back and forth, and all that, which I was already really wanting to go do, all that made me want to join more. But a lot of people try to talk me out of it, and the military service is different for everybody, but I had a really good time and really enjoyed my time in the Army. And so for anyone out there, it's just, don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't buy into how people tell you how you should be, what you should think, what you should do. Yeah, you do you, because you can only really be happy and comfortable how you are.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect example today. I mean, I'm 35 years old now, but I may not be 100% still dressing goth, but I'm still all in black right now with a Metallica hat, Metallica t-shirt.
Oh yeah.
And so just follow your heart and just be who you are, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to be happy.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's really good advice. And to anybody out there who's ever wondered why I dress in all black most often, it's because of my older brother, Zach. And because he's a big influence in my life. So now you know. People that have asked me for, ever since I was in 8th grade, why do you wear dark clothing? Well, now you know why.
Yeah, I'm still trying to convert him to metal, but
I mean, I listen to metal.
it's a work in progress.
I listen to metal. I listen to a lot of different types of rock music, a lot of metal and stuff. Have you listened to Deaf Heaven?
No, not yet.
Well, they're more black metal, but so I don't know if you really like them. But anyways, I think that's all the time we got for this episode of Closing Out the Week. Thank you for listening. Next week we have another guest. I don't know who that's going to be yet. Well, at the time of this recording, I don't know who it's going to be, but I bet they're going to be great, whoever it is. The advertisement should be on the Instagram page at the Closers Podcast, Facebook page at Closers Podcast. We also have that YouTube channel. Go ahead and check that out, and we'll be back with you next week. Thank you and take care.